Welcome to the deep dive. We're going to be exploring a world today where ideas are contagious.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah. Get ready to dive into the fascinating world of memes.
Minx.
Not the internet kind, but the science of how information spreads and
All right.
influences us.
Okay.
We'll be unpacking the Memetic Lexicon,
Hmm.
a collection of terms coined by Glenn Grant back in 1990.
Wow. Going way back.
Think of it as a decoder ring
Okay.
for understanding how ideas, beliefs, and even behaviors
Right.
replicate and evolve in our minds.
That's a cool way to think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a fascinating way to look at how culture itself changes and adapts.
Yeah.
We're not talking about silly cat pictures here,
No.
but rather the building blocks of religions, political movements,
Right.
even everyday trends.
Exactly. The lexicon is full of intriguing terms like memeology,
Meme allergy, what's that?
membots, and even vaccines for ideas.
Hmm?
It might sound like science fiction, but trust me, it gets really thought-provoking
I believe it.
when we apply these concepts to the real world.
Absolutely. And that's where we come in.
Yeah.
We'll help you connect these sometimes abstract concepts to things you see happening every day.
Exactly.
Let's start with the idea of a meme complex, or MPlex for short.
Okay, so an MPlex is basically a cluster of interconnected memes
Right.
that work together.
Mm.
Is it kind of like a belief system?
Yes, think of it like a network of ideas that reinforce each other.
Okay,
A religion or political ideology would be good examples.
okay,
They're not just single beliefs, but entire ecosystems
right.
of rituals, symbols, stories,
Uh-huh.
all working in concert.
And within these MPlexes,
Yes.
there are different types of memes playing specific roles, right?
That's right.
What are some of the key players in this memetic game?
The lexicon breaks it down into four main types.
Okay.
First, you have the bait.
Bait, like fishing.
Kind of. It's the attractive part of the meme complex.
Gotcha.
The thing that promises a benefit or fulfills a need.
So what might be the bait in something like a religion, for instance?
In many religions,
Uh-huh.
the bait might be the promise of salvation
Okay.
or a blissful afterlife.
Right, right.
It's the thing that draws people in,
It's appealing.
offering comfort or hope.
That makes sense. Then there's the hook,
Yeah,
which encourages people to spread the meme.
right.
What are some common hooks we might see in the wild?
Think about the phrase spread the word in religion
Right.
or the call to action in a political campaign.
Okay.
These are hooks,
Uh-huh.
encouraging people to share the meme
Gotcha.
and recruit others to the cause.
Ah, so it's about making the meme contagious.
Exactly.
But what about the darker side of meme complexes?
Ooh, darker side.
The lexicon mentions threats as a co-meme.
Okay.
What role do threats play?
Threats are the elements designed to discourage disagreement or leaving the meme complex. In some religions, it might be the threat of hellfire
Wow.
or eternal damnation for non-believers.
That's certainly a powerful way to keep people from straying from the Mimeplex.
Keep these in mind.
But if threats are the stick,
Yeah.
what's the carrot?
Carrot.
How do meme complexes build resistance to competing ideas?
That's where the vaccine comes in.
Interesting.
It's the component that strengthens adherence to the meme
Okay.
and helps people reject alternative viewpoints.
Okay.
Faith can be a powerful vaccine in religion.
So that's the vaccine.
It acts as a shield against doubts or competing beliefs.
So it's like preemptively building up an immunity to opposing ideas.
Exactly.
Is this something that all meme complexes use?
All of them.
Could we see this in political ideologies as well?
Absolutely.
How?
Think about strong patriotism
Okay.
or unwavering loyalty to a political party.
Right.
These can function as vaccines,
Okay.
making individuals resistant to ideas
Uh-huh.
or arguments that challenge their chosen ideology.
It's amazing how this framework can be applied
No, right.
to so many different areas of life.
Yeah, it's a very powerful framework.
It really does feel like there's a whole hidden language
Yeah.
governing how ideas take root and spread.
Right. And the lexicon goes even further,
Okay.
exploring the roles of individuals within these meme complexes.
Interesting.
It introduces terms like membots and memioid,
Membots, memioid.
which might sound a bit unsettling at first.
Okay, those sound intriguing and maybe a little intense.
Yeah, they can be a little bit.
What exactly are membots and memioids?
Think of membots as the dedicated spreaders of the meme.
Okay.
They actively promote it,
Uh-huh.
whether it's through missionary work,
All right.
political activism,
Right.
or even just sharing content online.
Mm-hmm.
They're essentially the engine of the meme's replication.
Interesting. So are they like the super fans of the meme world,
Yes.
completely devoted to spreading the message?
That's it.
And then there are Memeoids, who take their dedication to another level.
Yes, even further.
For them, the meme becomes more important
Uh-huh.
than their own survival.
Yeah,
Wow, that takes commitment.
it really does.
Does the lexicon give any examples of Memeoids in action?
Think of individuals like suicide bombers
Wow.
or cult members willing to sacrifice their lives for their cause.
Right.
The meme becomes so ingrained
Yeah.
that it overrides their basic instinct for self-preservation.
Yeah.
It's a chilling example
A little scary.
of how powerful these memes can be.
It's definitely making me think about the power of ideas.
Yeah.
And how they can shape human behavior in such profound ways.
It's really incredible.
But if everyone is constantly bombarded with memes,
Yeah.
how do they actually manage to spread so effectively?
That's where the lexicon's infection strategies come into play.
Infection strategies, okay.
It's not just about the message itself,
Right.
but how it's presented.
Gotcha.
The lexicon highlights the importance of psychological tactics.
So are we talking about memes essentially being marketed to us?
Yes.
Like a campaign to win over our minds?
That's a great analogy.
It makes sense.
Memes exploit our psychology to increase their chances of sticking around.
Okay.
A meme that uses humor
Right.
is more likely to be remembered and shared,
Sure.
and repetition is another classic tactic.
Repetition, yeah.
Think about catchy slogans or jingles that get stuck in your head.
Oh, I know those all too well. But it seems like memes that trigger strong emotional responses like fear or outrage
Yes.
also spread quickly.
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Memes that resonate with us on an emotional level
Okay.
are much more likely to be shared and discussed.
Okay.
The lexicon highlights one strategy in particular called villain versus victim.
What's that one all about? It sounds a bit ominous.
It's a tactic where a meme positions its host as a victim
Okay.
against an enemy, creating a sense of us versus them.
Gotcha.
Think about political propaganda that demonizes opponents or social movements
Right.
that rally people against a common threat.
Ah, so it's about creating a sense of insecurity or belonging to make people more receptive to the meme's message.
Exactly.
I can definitely see how that would be effective,
Yeah.
especially in today's world.
For sure.
By tapping into our fears and desires for security,
Right.
these memes can gain a powerful foothold in our minds.
They really can.
This is all incredibly insightful.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
But it does raise a question.
Okay, shoot.
If we're constantly being bombarded with these mimetic influences, does anyone ever escape infection?
Escape? Good question.
Or are we all just destined to become hosts for whatever memes happen to catch on?
That's a great question, and it leads us to the concept of mimetic immunity.
Memetic community.
The idea that we're not all equally susceptible
Okay.
to every meme that comes our way.
Okay, so it's like our minds have an immune system
Yes.
for ideas. That's a fascinating concept.
It is.
What determines how strong our mimetic immunity is?
That's where things get really interesting.
I'm ready.
The lexicon suggests that certain situations can actually lower our mimetic defenses,
What? Like what?
making us more vulnerable to new memes.
So what are some of the things that might make us more susceptible to catching a new meme?
Think about times when you've been traveling to a new place,
Okay.
or experiencing culture shock,
Culture shock.
or feeling isolated
Mm-hmm.
or emotionally distressed.
Does that make sense?
These experiences can disrupt our usual thought patterns
Right.
and make us more open to new ideas,
Yeah.
even those we might normally resist.
It makes sense that when we're outside of our comfort zone, we might be more willing to question our existing beliefs
Yeah.
and consider new perspectives.
That's right.
But what about protecting ourselves from harmful memes?
Protecting ourselves.
Does the lexicon offer any vaccine strategies
It does.
for building resistance to potentially dangerous ideas?
It certainly does.
What are they?
The lexicon outlines several different approaches
Okay.
to building mimetic community,
Okay.
and it's fascinating to see how they differ.
So, like, what are they?
Some, like conservatism,
Conservatism.
focus on resisting all new memes,
Okay.
kind of like a strict quarantine.
This is shutting everything out.
Orthodoxy takes a similar approach,
Yeah. Okay.
but it's more about rigidly adhering to established beliefs and automatically rejecting anything that challenges the status quo.
So those are strategies for maintaining a kind of ideological stability?
Yes.
Keeping potentially disruptive ideas at bay.
That's the idea.
But some people might say that's not a great way to go.
Well, The lexicon also explores vaccine strategies that encourage more engagement with new ideas,
Okay.
but with a critical eye.
Yeah.
For example, there's science,
Science.
which emphasizes testing new memes
Okay.
for consistency and evidence
The evidence base.
before accepting them.
So instead of shutting down all new ideas, it's about filtering them
Right.
through a lens of critical thinking
Yeah.
and evidence-based reasoning.
That seems like a more nuanced approach.
It does.
And there are other fascinating vaccine strategies as well.
Oh, tell me more.
Radicalism focuses on embracing one new scheme
Okay.
and rejecting all others,
So very black and white.
while nihilism goes to the extreme,
Yeah.
rejecting all schemes entirely,
Wow.
both new and old.
Okay.
Then there's the New Age approach,
New age. Okay.
which focuses on embracing new and old memes
Right.
based purely on aesthetic appeal,
Aesthetic appeal, huh?
regardless of their consistency or evidence.
It's interesting to see how each of these vaccine strategies
It is, yeah.
represents a different way of navigating the flow of information and ideas.
Yeah, it's like a buffet of vaccines.
It really makes you think about your own approach, doesn't it?
It really does.
What are your mental defenses against harmful memes?
Good question.
And how have those defenses been shaped by your experiences?
It's always evolving.
This is something we'll continue exploring after a quick break.
Yeah, it really makes you think about all the different ways that we filter information.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not just about individual choices either.
Right.
There are larger forces at play as well.
Okay, like what?
Well, the lexicon talks about the ideosphere,
Ideosphere.
which is like the ecosystem of ideas.
So instead of a biological ecosystem, it's an ecosystem of memes.
Exactly.
That's a really interesting concept.
Yes, yeah.
What does that mean for how memes evolve and spread?
Think about it like this.
Okay.
Just like in nature, there's competition
Right.
and selection happening in the ideosphere.
Uh-huh.
The memes that are most fit,
The fittest memes.
the ones that are best adapted to spreading and surviving,
Okay.
are the ones that thrive.
Survival of the fittest memes.
This constant process of evolution.
So then what about those memes that aren't quite as fit? What happens to them?
Well, some do.
Okay.
But the lexicon introduces another key concept here,
What's that?
mimetic drift.
Memetic drift.
It's the idea that even the most successful memes undergo changes
Okay.
as they're replicated and passed on.
So it's like a game of telephone
Yeah.
where the original message can get distorted
Uh-huh.
as it travels from person to person.
That's a great way to put it.
Could that explain why some ideas seem to change over time,
Yes.
even if they're based on a fixed text?
Exactly. It's like a constant process of mutation and adaptation.
Wow.
Each time a meme is shared, there's a chance for slight variations or interpretations to creep in.
That's interesting.
Some of these changes might make the meme more contagious,
Right.
while others might weaken it.
So it could go either way.
It's fascinating to see how even seemingly fixed ideas can evolve over time.
It's almost like you can see the history of an idea
You can.
by tracing its mimetic drift.
Exactly.
But are there ways to slow down this drift?
Good question.
Can memes be preserved in their original form?
Well, the lexicon points out that written texts can actually act as a kind of brake
A break.
on mimetic drift.
Okay.
Think about religious doctrines or legal codes that are carefully preserved in writing.
Right.
They provide a reference point,
Okay.
a way to anchor the meme and limit the amount of variation.
So it's like creating a fixed point in the ever-shifting landscape of the ideosphere.
Yes, exactly.
But even with written text, there's always room for interpretation, right?
That's why you have different branches of religions
Okay.
or different legal precedents. They're all variations on a theme
Right.
shaped by mimetic drift
Yeah.
and the different ways people interpret the original text.
It's a dynamic process.
It really is.
It's all starting to make me look at the world in a whole new light.
I know what you mean.
I'm seeing mimetic patterns everywhere.
It's like you can't unsee it.
In news headlines, advertising slogans, even casual conversations with friends.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's almost like a secret code has been revealed.
That's a good way to put it.
But what about the negative side of mimetic influence? Are we just powerless against harmful memes?
Powerless.
Or are there ways to protect ourselves?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
And while the lexicon doesn't offer any foolproof solutions,
Okay.
it does introduce the concept of vaccines,
Vaccines.
meta-memes, that can provide resistance to other potentially harmful memes.
Okay, so it's like building up an immunity to bad ideas.
Exactly.
I'm really curious about how that works.
Yeah.
What kind of vaccines are we talking about?
One of the most powerful vaccines is skepticism.
Skepticism, okay.
It's the idea of questioning assumptions,
Right.
demanding evidence,
Yeah.
and not just blindly accepting what we hear.
Especially in today's world with so much information
Yeah.
and misinformation floating around.
It's more important than ever.
That seems like an essential skill to develop.
I think so.
How can we cultivate more skepticism?
It's about training ourselves to think critically,
Okay.
to look beyond the surface, and
Okay.
consider the source,
Right.
the
Okay.
motives,
Yeah.
and the potential biases
The
behind
bias.
any information we encounter.
It's tough these days.
It is.
It's about becoming savvy consumers of ideas,
Yes.
not just passive recipients.
That's the key.
And what about tolerance?
Tolerance.
It seems like being open to diverse viewpoints
Okay.
without immediately shutting them down
Uh-huh.
could also be a kind of vaccine
Okay.
against harmful memes.
Absolutely. Tolerance allows us to be exposed to different perspectives without feeling threatened or automatically rejecting
Yeah.
anything that challenges our existing beliefs.
That can be tough, though,
It
and not just get defensive.
It's about recognizing that there's often more than one valid way of looking at things.
So it's like building up a resistance to that meme allergy
Exactly.
that the lexicon talks about.
Right.
Instead of having an adverse reaction to any idea that's different from our own, we can approach it with curiosity
Yes.
and a willingness to understand.
That's a good approach.
And these vaccines aren't just individual strategies either.
Right.
They're also embedded in larger cultural systems.
Mm-hmm.
The scientific method, for example, is a system designed to filter out bad ideas and promote those that hold up under rigorous scrutiny.
It's a system of checks and balances.
It's like a collective immune system for the ideosphere,
Exactly.
constantly testing and challenging new memes to ensure only the strongest survive.
That's the idea.
But it still seems like we have a lot of individual responsibility as well.
We do.
What can we do in our daily lives to build up our own memetic immunity?
Well, reading widely.
Reading.
Exposing ourselves to different cultures.
That makes sense.
And even just having honest conversations with people
Okay.
who hold different beliefs.
Okay.
All of these can help us develop a more robust memetic immune system.
Okay.
It's about actively cultivating a healthy ideosphere.
A healthy ideosphere.
One that's diverse,
Mm-hmm.
resilient,
Okay.
and capable of adapting to new information
Right.
without succumbing to harmful memes.
And that brings us back to the idea of memetic engineering.
Memetic engineering.
If we can understand how memes work,
Yeah.
can we also learn how to design them?
Design them.
Not just to spread information, but to actually promote positive change.
That's a fascinating question.
It is.
And it
It's
gets
good.
to the heart of whether we're just passive carriers of memes
Right.
or active participants in their evolution.
It makes you wonder.
The lexicon suggests that we all have the potential to be memetic engineers to some extent.
So if we're all capable of shaping the ideosphere,
Yeah.
what kind of responsibility comes with that?
Responsibility. That's a big one.
Are we all ethical memetic engineers by default? Or is there more to it?
Yeah, that's a big question. It really is. The lexicon doesn't provide easy answers,
Right.
but it certainly encourages us to be more aware of the power of memes
Uh-huh.
and to use that power wisely.
It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement of a catchy idea or a viral trend
It is, yeah.
without pausing to think about its potential impact.
Yeah, we don't always stop and think.
But after this deep dive,
Yeah,
I can't help but look at things through a more critical lens.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's really the key takeaway here, isn't it?
What is?
Understanding memetics isn't about rejecting all memes
Right.
or becoming cynical about the power of ideas.
Yeah.
It's about developing a more nuanced understanding of how ideas spread
Okay.
and how they shape our world.
So it's about becoming more conscious participants in the evolution of ideas.
Exactly.
Instead of just being swept along by whatever happens to be trending,
Right.
we can make more deliberate choices about the memes we embrace and spread.
I like that. Yeah, being more deliberate.
More mind.
And that involves being mindful of the potential consequences of the memes we promote.
The consequences, yeah.
Are they contributing to a more informed and compassionate world?
Right.
Or are they amplifying division and misinformation?
I have to admit, this whole deep dive into memetics has been a real eye-opener.
I'm glad to hear it.
It's like looking at the world through a new set of glasses.
Yeah.
Revealing the hidden mechanics of how ideas take root and spread.
It's a fascinating perspective, isn't it? And I think the most important lesson is that we're not powerless in the face of mimetic influence.
We're not powerless.
We have the power to choose the memes we embrace, the ideas we spread, and ultimately the kind of world we want to create.
Well said. So, to our listeners out there, we challenge you to put on your own mimetic lenses.
Your own mimetic lenses.
And take a closer look at the world around you.
Take a look around.
What memes have taken root in your own mind? How are they shaping your thoughts and behaviors? And what kind of mimetic legacy do you want to leave behind?
It's a journey of self-discovery and critical thinking.
It is.
And we encourage you to keep exploring.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Memetic Lexicon.
It's been a pleasure.